Tonight, a new turn in the Canada-U.S. trade war. A U.S. court calls Donald Trump's tariffs illegal, but it's leaving Canadian businesses with more questions than answers.
Uncertainty. People don't know how to do business. This just simply exacerbates that uncertainty.
Why Canada won't see relief from that court ruling anytime soon. Plus, a real estate scandal in Ontario leaves thousands in the lurch.
They don't have money to pay their mortgages. Those that are affected, they don't have money to buy houses.
How a brokerage firm's shortfall has sown chaos and the province threatening to step in. And an emotional weekend for students and parents.
I was probably sad in the last 2 weeks, and today super happy.
How families are navigating the big move onto campus for the first time.
CTV National News with Heather Butts. Reporting tonight, Marcia McMillan.
Good evening. We begin tonight with renewed uncertainty around Donald Trump's tariffs. A federal appeals court has ruled most of them illegal, but that doesn't mean they're off the books right away. And that means Trump has time to appeal. CTV's Jeremy Sharon is tracking the developments and what it all means for Canada.
It's a legal blow to the Trump administration's trade tactics, a court decision declaring some of the president's infamous tariffs illegal. But already it's expected to be appealed and pushed to America's highest court.
It is our hope that the Supreme Court will take up this case very quickly, early in its term, in October and November, and we would get a decision by the end of the year.
But in the meantime, the court ruling still isn't without impact.
Uncertainty. People don't know how to do business. This just simply exacerbates that uncertainty.
The split decision by a U.S. appeals court ruled that some of the tariffs imposed by the president are illegal, including the so-called fentanyl tariffs on Canada. And while their lawfulness will be decided in court, other levies still stand.
There are national security tariffs, the steel, aluminum, auto parts tariffs. Those are all under Section 232, which is a different process and is not at issue, has not been struck down.
Even the tariffs being challenged remain in place until at least October 14th, giving Trump's administration a chance to officially appeal. While in a world where the global trade landscape has been reshaped by the U.S. president's use of tariffs,
it's got to be steady as we go in Canada.
Experts suggest this latest ruling changes nothing yet for Canada.
The discussion between Canada and the United States isn't about legal powers. It's not about constitutionality. It's about politics and economics.
Donald Trump has called the court ruling highly partisan, and his administration says it will appeal it, as once again, uncertainty remains the only constant. Marcia?
Thank you, Jeremy. More proof that the decision by several provinces to strip American liquor from store shelves is having a big impact south of the border. The maker of whiskey brand Jack Daniel's revealing in an earnings call this week that it took a big hit in the last quarter because of the absence of American liquor from Canadian stores. The boycott led to more than a 60% drop in Canadian sales. It's the end of the road for a nearly century-old bus service connecting Canada and the United States. Windsor's much-beloved historic tunnel bus made its final cross-border trips today after the mayor decided its time had come. CTV's Robert Lothian reports.
The Windsor-Detroit tunnel bus making one of its last trips before being decommissioned.
I came here in 1983 to go to University of Windsor. And my friends and I used to ride the bus back then when it was 50 cents.
After more than 90 years, the bus route connecting both cities came to an end on Saturday, curbing cross-border trips for people like Audrey Walton.
I don't know how I'm going to get over. I don't know how I'm going to go visit family members. I don't know. This stops my freedom from crossing the river because I don't drive.
Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkins moved to kill the route during budget talks in January, vetoing City Council's efforts. Federal regulations forced the city to give Transit Windsor drivers 10 paid sick days because the service crosses the border. Cuts save Windsor upwards of $1.4 million.
Why are we paying the full fare and subsidizing $1.6 million to bring people over to Detroit when their country is threatening us economically at this time, and we can't break even.
There's a couple, municipal run systems that run across provincial boundaries, but this is the only one that crosses the international border.
Historian Bernie Droulard says Transit Windsor took over the service in 1982, and with Saturday's closing, he's doubtful of a future revival.
It's got to the point where you got to really look at the final cost, what it's costing, and can you justify spending that much money every year?
A special events bus used specifically for concerts as well as sporting events will continue until December. As we understand it, there are efforts by private companies trying to revive some sort of regular tunnel bus service. In the meantime, residents here on both sides of the border continue to mourn the loss of this historic transit service. Robert Lothian, CTV News, Windsor.
Well, from buses to airplanes now, the Canadian International Air Show took flight over Toronto this afternoon, dazzling spectators with aerial acrobatics. But one aircraft was getting extra attention, the F-35 fighter jet, because Canada's order to buy new ones from the U.S. is up in the air. CTV's Kamakar Amali breaks it down for us.
It's the high-flying air show in Toronto, dazzling first-timers.
When they do the circle on the heart, that's what I like.
And even seasoned veterans.
You have done the show many times. How many times have you done it?
Past, present, and future.
The Canadian International Air Show has a unique spin to it this time around, given the ongoing trade tensions with the United States.
We decided to go Canadiana, so we have entire Canadian performers, except for the F-35, which we're looking forward to it too, because it might be important to Canada at some point.
The F-35 fighter jets, which Canada has already put an order in to purchase from the United States.
The Royal Canadian Air Force is buying this model that the United States Air Force currently has.
Canada had agreed to buy 88 of these fighter jets from the U.S. to replace its aging CF-18 fleet, with the contract finalized nearly 3 years ago. But amid the trade war with the U.S., Prime Minister Mark Carney launched a defensive review earlier this year to assess the F-35 commitment and explore other options, after costs ballooned to over $27 billion. The Department of National Defence says the review is expected to be finalized by the end of this summer. Canada's Auditor General and its military have recommended sticking with the full purchase.
To reverse it this side would probably evaporate much of the goodwill that the Canadian government has in the United States, that they desperately need to get any sort of trade negotiations.
Canada has already financially committed to the first 16 aircraft, but the future of the other 72 are up in the air, with Canadian pilots ready to be trained on the jets in Arizona late next year.
Would you like to be one of them? I absolutely would like to be one.
Chris Tucker, one of the hopefuls.
Flying them is actually quite similar, which is going to streamline the training process for our pilots.
With plenty of more pilots ready for the challenge. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
A little relief on the horizon for those fighting an out-of-control wildfire in Nova Scotia. Rainy conditions this weekend are expected to help crews with the Long Lake fire in Annapolis County that's been burning for more than 2 weeks. The fire has destroyed at least 20 homes and more than 500 properties have been evacuated. And officials in BC are confirming dry, hot conditions this week have led the number of active wildfires there to triple. That's about 140 fires now burning in BC, up from 68 on Wednesday. 50 of them are classified as out of control. Now to the fires burning in Manitoba. Not the raging wildfires that have forced so many communities to evacuate, but fires being intentionally set across the city of Winnipeg. Police are investigating several cases of arson. And as CTV's Alex Carper reports, these acts of mischief have people doing a slow burn.
A frightening scene caught on video earlier this week in Winnipeg, where a group can be seen setting fire to a soccer field bench. This is what the bench looks like now, completely charred and barely standing.
Pretty sad, pretty disgusted, actually.
Brenda Ingbunson's grandson plays for the Bonnie Vittel Soccer Club. The local team uses the field where the apparent arson occurred. She's appalled by what she saw.
Vandalism, obviously. Kids, which is very sad. You know, it hurts.
The soccer investigation headlines a string of alleged arsons recently across Winnipeg, among them a fire in the city's popular Exchange District that damaged 2 historic buildings.
Very, very sad that this can happen.
One of the damaged buildings was built between 1906 and 1907. It started out as the city's first automotive center. Cindy Tugwell with Heritage Winnipeg says she can't wrap her mind around what could spark someone to damage buildings like these.
And I'm just so disheartened to hear, is this a rash of something going on that we're not getting, and we're not understanding what's causing all of this?
It's now a string of incidents that has left many Winnipeggers on edge, but there are still questions that remain. Why is this happening, and what needs to be done to prevent this from getting worse?
The other concern, though, that we've seen recently in these businesses is that some of them don't seem to be connected to any sort of, strong-arming activity. They seem, again, to be random.
Michael Weinrath says it's difficult to police incidents like these when they are random in nature, but he believes the province needs to set up an arson task force to tackle the problem.
So you need people to do the legwork, you need people who specialize in these things, and so to me, a strike force makes a lot of sense in this instance.
Winnipeg police confirmed to CTV News that they are investigating these incidents as possible arsons, but no arrests have been made. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
At least 7 people have been killed and dozens injured, including children, following an Israeli strike today on Gaza City. Many were fleeing their homes as rescue crews tried to pull victims from the rubble. It comes as an official told the Associated Press Israel will slowly halt aid trucks and airdrops into northern Gaza in the coming days. The move is part of an Israeli plan to take over the Gaza Strip, which includes moving thousands of people south. And Russia has carried out another massive attack on Ukraine overnight, launching more than 500 drones and 45 missiles on 14 regions, including Kyiv. No damage was reported in the capital, but 1 person died and 30 people were injured in other cities. In Minneapolis, a mass was held today for the first time since a shooter killed 2 children at a Catholic school. Ahead of the service, a priest who was inside during the attack, speaking to the press for the first time about running towards the bullets.
I could have got between those bullets and the kids. That's what I was hoping to do. And the door, you might have heard, the doors were barred shut on the outside by the gunmen. I mean, we tried to get out. I think some of the fathers would have gone out there and gang rushed him if they could have, and I would have been right there with them.
Tonight's service was held in the auditorium rather than in the main church space where the shooting took place. The Ontario government is threatening to intervene in the wake of a real estate scandal that has enveloped not only a large broker, but the province's real estate watchdog. CTV's John Woodward digs into the chaotic situation that has left homeowners unable to access millions in deposits.
Realtor Tuta Gucci's face looks out over East Toronto from her billboard. And today, she's looking for answers.
We all were shocked what happened.
Gucci, one of some 2,400 realtors, surprised they cannot access huge sums of client deposits and commissions. Almost $1 million across her team, all of it in the trust account of iPro Realty. The iPro account now frozen.
They don't have money to pay their mortgages. Those that are affected, they don't have money to buy houses.
Hi, Rui Alves, CEO of iPro Realty.
The co-founders of iPro, Roy Alves and Fideli Colucci, illegally transferred $10.5 million out of the brokerage trust account, according to an investigation by the Real Estate Council of Ontario in May, its largest breach ever.
While the pair were disciplined, they were not charged or fined by Registrar Joe Richer.
Alves was a former RICO board member.
In the meantime, about $720 million of new real estate transactions took place, which all had deposits, which went into this trust account, which was shown to be tampered with.
RICO's registrar no longer at his post.
Now RICO has hired a law firm to conduct an audit. And late Friday, Ontario Minister Stephen Crawford weighed in, saying if he's not satisfied with the audit, he will not hesitate to take further measures, including through the appointment of an administrator to assume control of RICO. Realtor Naz Moseni says she has $150,000 frozen and says she's been advised to make an insurance claim.
This is not a joke.
They have dropped the ball so badly to play with people's financial life.
Gucci says the fund should be managed by a trustee so realtors and clients can get some money back now.
They should put a trustee right now to pay immediately.
And Gucci says she's left iPro or the new brokerage iCloud behind. She's signed up with Remax.
Ricoh responded in a statement that they welcome the scrutiny and the chance to restore trust in their system. Some realtors say if they don't have access to their funds soon, they will protest the Ricoh offices. John Woodward, CTV News, Toronto.
Coming up, the end of a dream.
It's heartbreaking. You know, it was a dream.
How a paperwork problem shut the door on a New Brunswick restaurateur's future. One of the world's most well-known chefs is sharing a scary health diagnosis. On Instagram, Gordon Ramsay revealing he recently had surgery to remove skin cancer, sharing photos of his bandaged face and a scar. In the caption, he thanked his doctors and advised everyone to wear sunscreen. A highly contagious and potentially devastating tree fungus is on the rise in Saskatoon, prompting city officials to warn of an ecological emergency. CTV's Alison Bamford on the growing threat of Dutch elm disease.
Under long leafy branches, a break from the sun. One of the reasons the American elm shot up across the continent.
It grows like a vase, so it opens up, gives you a lot of shade, but doesn't put out low branches. Yeah, see, now here's one.
Tom Goad says his 90-year-old elm is at risk of infection, along with 25% of Saskatoon's trees that could be wiped out.
It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen.
There's a rising threat of Dutch elm disease, a lethal fungus spread by elm bark beetles. The city reported 19 possible cases, breaking last year's record of 11.
Is only going to get more difficult and expensive to manage if it continues to spread.
There's no cure. Infected trees, along with neighboring ones, must be removed. Crews recently cut down 3 infected trees along a corridor of elms. Almost 40 total will be removed this year, valued around $500,000. The problem's even worse in Regina. The city confirmed 78 cases this year, nearing last year's record of 85. And in Winnipeg, close to 6,700 elm trees were marked for removal last year.
So the faster we can remove diseased trees, the more time we give our city to adapt, get other varieties planted, and start the maturation process.
And some of the responsibility of slowing the spread falls on homeowners.
You know, I don't know if we can be more clear on this, but do not store elm wood, do not transport it.
To prevent the spread of disease, the province bans elm tree pruning from April to the end of August every year. But with the recent heat wave, elm beetle activity hasn't had a chance to slow down, and experts say it might be a good idea to hold off on that pruning for at least another 3 weeks. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Still ahead, a dream destroyed in New Brunswick. Why a new restaurant had to shut its doors even before the grand opening. Restaurants in a popular tourist area of New Brunswick were forced to stay closed this summer because of a little-known provincial law with big consequences for business owners. Here's CTV's Sarah Plowman.
As tourists flock to St. Martin's Sea Caves, Natasha Parsons hoped to draw them to her family's new restaurant, next door to the one they've run for years. They bought it this spring, hired staff, bought equipment, but at the 11th hour they learned they couldn't open.
The only thing that was holding us up was obtaining the food premise license.
A license Parsons says the province denied because they didn't have a record that proved their septic system was approved when it was installed more than 25 years ago.
New Brunswick only keeps those records for 20 years, after which they destroy them. And we did not have the paperwork The former owners did not have the paperwork.
The mayor of Fundy St. Martin says regulations are needed, but to him, this one doesn't make sense.
They don't have to keep the records past 20 years, so why would they expect a business owner to hang on to a piece of paper for more than 20 years?
So the only choices we were given were to produce the certificate of compliance, the piece of paper, or to put in a brand new septic system.
She notes that could cost up to $50,000, so they've stayed closed.
It's heartbreaking. You know, it was a dream, and it was also heartbreaking to sit there and tell people they didn't have jobs.
We already have a takeout here, and that's...
The mayor says 2 other takeout spots face the same hurdle. One paid for a new septic system to open. This pizza takeout is still closed, even though the owner operated here a few years ago, and other businesses use the septic system here now. The province says all food premises have to be connected to an approved on-site sewage disposal system, a regulation that's been in place since 2009, but any restaurant that was open before then doesn't have to validate their system. It's only when there's new ownership. Parsons thinks more businesses need to know about the rule.
Even our lawyer was not aware that this was legislation in place. That would have definitely impacted our decision to purchase this business because we can't run it as the business as intended.
And so for now, this restaurant sits empty. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, St. Martin's, New Brunswick.
Still ahead, a roller coaster of emotions, how students and parents are coping with saying goodbye this move-in weekend. It's a scene playing out all across the country this weekend. Families moving students out of the homes they've always known and into a new place to live on university campuses. CTV's Josh Morano caught up with some excited students and some emotional parents to watch the big move at Carleton University.
Carleton Move-In Weekend is finally here, and it's the start of a new chapter for Ava Barone.
I haven't lived on my own, so this will be the first. I do have a roommate who came with me from the Sioux, so that'll be nice to have people who are close.
She's here with her parents, all the way from Sault Ste. Marie, getting settled in her new dorm.
It was a long way to get here packing. I am a bit nervous, but everyone here is really nice and welcoming, and they really get you settled in.
3,800 new students are arriving over the weekend, with staff and volunteers helping them move into 12 residence buildings.
They had a bunch of helpers too, like a huge crowd of people. Just, I think, like students or staff, they just came and helped bring all my stuff up.
And of course, a busy and emotional day for parents as well.
I just keep saying it over and over. Enjoy the life, enjoy the school. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be amazing at the same time.
I was probably sad in the last 2 weeks, and today super happy, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm going to save on hydro, gas, water, and food, but I'll miss them.
For Barone, she says she's looking forward to this new adventure and for classes to get started.
I am very excited to be on my own, independent, and really study something I'm interested in.
Josh Morano, CTV News.
And that is our show for tonight. I'm Marcia McMillan. From all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night and see you tomorrow.